Once you're ready to groom your horse, you have to make sure you have all your utensils. So you're going to start with a curry comb. There are many different styles of curry combs. You can have a round rubber one that your hand slides in with little teeth on the inside. One that you slide your hand in, but it has two different styles. It has pointy, they're not sharp, but they're strong, but they're deep. Or this side is more of a scrungy kind, so it's not as rough. We have a kind that your hand slides in, so it's easier to hold on to. So we take our curry comb and we start at the neck up by the head. If you start up here and work backwards, you won't miss any spots on him. And you want to go in circles, round and round. Want to curry all of them, that way you really are able to look and make sure that there isn't any injuries. See all the sand coming off? We're loosening the sand from inside his hair, from way down by his skin. Then once you've curried your horse, you go to your hard brush. And your hard brush, it flicks off the loosened dirt and old hair that the curry comb has loosened from your horse. And you always want to make sure that you do not use the hard brush on their head. Next, we would use our hard brush, once again, starting at the head and brushing the direction of the hair and flicking all of the dirt and hair that we have loosened up. Once again, staying to the side and bending down. We never want to squat, because if we squat and they happen to step sideways, they could step on your leg and break it. After the hard brush, we go to the soft brush. And the soft brush, it just smooths everything out. So the hard brush flicks the dirt off, and the soft brush just smooths everything. Once we are done with the hard brush, then we use our soft brush. The soft brush, once again, is soft. It's not stiff and prickly like the hard brush. Same routine, start at the head. And this one is just kind of like a finishing brush. So it just smooths everything out. Remember, you can use your soft brush on the horse's head. But a horse's head is interesting because the hair goes in different directions. So right here in the middle of his head, there's a little spiral. That spiral is called a cowlick. If you notice, the hair goes in different directions from that cowlick. So that's how you would brush. So you would brush up. Oh, he likes it. And down. Ooh, he's got a dirty head. Look at that dirt coming off. In addition to the curry comb and the brushes, you also want to have something to brush the mane and tail. You can have a comb, or you can have a brush. I use an ordinary hairbrush. I find that's easier than a comb, because if you have a comb, your mane or tail is tangled, it will pull all of the hair out. Whereas a brush, it's easier to detangle. You also want to have a towel. And a towel is going to help you clean their eyes and their nostrils. Remember, the more hair that you pull out, the less hair they have to protect them from the insects. The mane and the tail and the forelock, this is the forelock, the main job of those three things are to keep insects from off of the horse. So the forelock, if it's long, see how it goes over the eyes? And it helps to keep bugs out of their eyes. The tail is the same way. If the tail, when he swings it, it can go all the way up on his back. So if we watch, I bet you we'll have a fly land somewhere. There's one there. So his tail flicks them, and that's why they're always flicking their tail, is to get rid of the flies. It takes a horse about a year to grow his tail from the end of his tailbone, which is right there, to the end. So if we pulled out a bunch of it, then he wouldn't have anything to combat the insects. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our towel to clean the eyes and the nostrils. So remember, you always want a clean towel. You don't want to put anything dirty in their eyes. So you walk up, you let them see that you have it. See, he's smelling it. And then you reach up and you take those eye goobers out of his eyes. See? So you move to a clean spot and you go back. So we also can use the nostrils. You always want to do the eyes first so that you're not putting nostril dirt into their eyes. So once again, you reach down. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm noticing that he's got some sloughing of skin. So he's probably has a reaction to something in the ground. Could be in the dew on the grass. It comes right off and it doesn't seem to hurt him. So I'll just watch it and make sure that nothing else comes from it as far as getting worse. So if we never did this, we'd never know it was there. That's the importance of always taking care of your horse. We also need to clean their hooves, and we use a hoof pick to clean their hooves. We have to get all of the bacteria, the manure, the dirt up from the ground. We have to clean that daily, and that way we don't have any fungus or bacteria that actually live inside of the hoof that would eat it away and make them sore. So you run your hands down the back of the leg. When you get to the leg, you squeeze. They lift it. You're gonna hold it with your left hand, and you're gonna, right hand is going to take the metal, and it's gonna clean all the manure and the dirt and anything that's not supposed to be in there. So horses, the way they know when to shed and change their coat from winter to summer and summer to winter is by the length of the day. The longer the day, the shorter the coat. The shorter the day, the longer the coat they're going to grow. That's how they know whether it's summer or winter coming up.
Like Miss Patty said, horses grow and shed their coat depending on the amount of daylight. In the summer, they will have a short, shiny coat with hair that is less than an inch long. And in the winter, they will have a long, fluffy coat that helps to keep them warm. Horses that live in especially cold areas will grow longer than average winter coats. You can see on this horse that the summer coat, underneath all the dead hair, is much shorter. The time for shedding comes in the spring, and many horse owners use a shedding blade to help this process along. A shedding blade will have little metal teeth that do not hurt the horse but gently remove the dead hair. Believe it or not, a horse has around 2,000 hairs per square inch, and because of this, it can take a few weeks for a horse to completely shed their winter coat. Bathing horses is super important to keep them not only clean, but healthy. A horse that is never bathed will be more likely to have bacterial and fungal infections in their skin. Not to mention, they'll look quite gross. On the other hand, horses that are bathed too frequently will lose their natural skin oils and have a coat that looks dull. Bathing a horse once a week, like we do, is a good balance between too much and not enough. It's also good to bathe horses that are hot and need to cool down. A horse that is hot will be sweating and have flaring nostrils. Their veins will also come closer to the surface of the skin in an attempt to cool down. Horses lose approximately 2 to 4 gallons of sweat for each hour of exercise, and it is important to remove that salty sweat afterwards to prevent itching and irritation.
Once you've decided that you need to bathe your horse, you're going to want to gather everything you need before you start. I use human shampoo just like we would use on our hair. It's much cheaper, and it is exactly the same as what you would buy at a tack shop for the horses or a feed store. If you have a horse that's really scratchy, that likes to itch a lot, you might want to buy dandruff shampoo and use that. Could be that your mane has lots of flakes in it, and the dandruff shampoo would help with that also. But if your horse is really scratchy, like scratches a lot, you might want to buy a medicated shampoo that you can buy at the drugstore. It's a tar-based shampoo. It's brown, and it also has more medication for the scratching. If your horse has a mane and tail that's really tangled, you're going to want a conditioner. And you're going to put that conditioner on just like you would your hair. You're going to want something to scrub your horse with. So I have a brush on one side and a curry comb on the other side. Probably in the summer you're only going to need the brush, but in the winter when they have long hair, you're going to want something with teeth that you can really dig into that hair. Otherwise you're never going to get all the way to the skin to get your horse clean. You're going to want your sweat scraper, and your sweat scraper is used at the end to get all the excess water and sweat off of your horse. You're also going to want a sponge. You're going to want a jug of vinegar. Doesn't have to be this big, but you're going to want at least, probably 4 cups of vinegar. Then you're going to need your hose with your water. You're going to get your entire horse wet. All of these white bubbles that are coming off, that's all sweat. So you're going to want to hose your horse until you don't see any more of those white bubbles coming off. Leo doesn't have any itching problems, so we're just going to use our regular shampoo. When we start, we're going to start with the mane because that is on the top of him. You want to make sure that you start in an order so that you don't miss anything. We're just going to put a little shampoo down him, and then we're going to scrub. Remember, we always start up by the head, so we're not missing anything. Ooh, he likes that. He says, that feels good. Once we have soaped both sides of our horse, we are going to then rinse him. So we have to make sure we get all of the soap out of them. Because if you leave any soap in their mane, tail, or body, they could have a reaction and they could get sores. Notice now that he's clean how the water kind of shimmers. When we did it before, he was dirty and so it wasn't shiny. That's one way you can tell that your horse is clean. Once you have bathed your horse and rinsed, or if you've just rinsed the sweat off of your horse, you're going to want to use your sweat scraper. There are different kinds of sweat scrapers. There's some that are round and there's some that are straight. We have a straight one here, and it takes off all the extra water from the horse. And it will take the extra water off of your horse. And then when you get to the legs, you're going to take your hand and run down, and that will take off the water from the legs. Once you've sweat scraped your horse and you did a bath, you're going to want to add vinegar to some water. So we have our vinegar, and it's just distilled white vinegar. And I have poured some in there, but you would pour it in. And then you would add water to it. You're going to want to make it a 50-50 ratio, so half vinegar, half water. Once you have done that, we're going to apply it to our horse after they've been sweat scraped. So you have a sponge, and with the vinegar, we put vinegar on them to help kill the bacteria that lives in the ground so their skin stays healthier, and it also helps to keep them cooler. So we would take our sponge and we just let it run down their body. We don't sweat scrape this off because we want the full effect of the vinegar to be on the horse. This is a prime spot for fungus and bacteria to grow, so we want to make sure that those key spots on the horse that are prone for fungus actually get the vinegar on them.